Hello, today I'm going to be talking about the recent Vshojo news that happened where 3 talents chose not to renew their contracts. And this has caused a lot of commotion, so I want to talk about it a bit and try to explain why they might have done it. But first off, I want to say that I am not these talents and their opinions are their own, so just take everything I say with a grain of salt. And anyway, I think the best place to begin is to talk about Vshojo itself and kind of how it runs, and I'll kind of give you a good explanation of maybe why they left. So, Vshojo, they're a VTuber agency that you might see like Hololive or Niji-sanji, but they do a lot of different stuff. Like, they're more of a talent-first company, as they say, which basically means that their main focus isn't taking talents and giving them new models and a space to do stuff and letting them do them stuff like that, like other companies, but more of to take their previous stuff and just put the Vshojo brand on it, which is perfectly fine because it makes more of a sense of unity. It makes it feel like a bigger presence in the scene, which is a good thing. Because right now, there are a few companies that are quite dominant in the space, and in the Western scene, there isn't too much going on, so this is a good step. But as a company, they don't make money the same way the others do. Instead of taking percentages and stuff from their talents, they kind of work in an outside way, where they use the talents and make merchandises of them, and they get to keep all the profit from that, which is perfectly fine because then the talent is managing themselves in terms of sponsorships and all that stuff, but having a company above them allows them to get them a lot more opportunities with larger companies and being able to get to things like, expos and conventions and that. This doesn't mean they haven't put out their own talents. People like Fruit, Hime Hajime, and Nazuna have been created from the ground up by Vshojo and played by people. So all of this sounds very fine and dandy, and it may be confusing to hear that why would they leave? It seems like they don't have any interruptions with their own content and that. So is there a bigger reason or some drama that might have left? Well, maybe, but probably not. I want to quickly talk about something that I think silvervale covered in her stream. I don't want to be 100% on that, but it was basically about exposure and how she wasn't feeling like she got the exposure she needed out of Vshojo, so there wasn't much of a reason to stay around. Which sounds strange because that's kind of the big point, is that you get introduced to this whole new audience when you become a talent. And you see from all these other companies that the talents they have might grow bigger and bigger, and they all kind of grow as a group together, which is, the ideal situation. But the way that Vshojo works is that since it's very independent, the talent's growth is really dependent on what they're doing themselves. So if they're not doing work to make themselves big and known, then they're not going to get a much extra boost from Vshojo, as the division between each talent is a lot larger than something like Holo and Niji, which kind of leads into another point I wanted to make, that is that the talents are very independent when it comes to their jobs and making content. So if you're already an established talent with a large fan base, you might not need an agency for the extra support. So I can imagine people like Nyanners and Vey just wanting to focus on their own stuff instead of being tied as Vshojo. As for them, their content doesn't really rely on that. A similar parallel to this on the slight other side of the internet is with esports organizations and teams of content creators and that. You get what I mean. You might see some people leave from those orgs or groups, and it may seem strange. It may seem like they have beef or something, but probably not. It's probably because they can probably survive independently and they just want to do their own thing. It's something completely different to what they're doing right now. So if you kind of get what I mean, it kind of links together, even though there are a few things like taking cuts of their, their payments and everything. Now, I kind of want to address Silvervale with her stuff because I've seen a lot of people get upset at her because it sounds like she's not handling it the most professionally and kind of just like throwing them, saying, yeah, these are kind of not great people out there in Vshojo, which I mean is kind of backhanded mean, but I mean everything is based on her personal experiences, which you can't really validate from the outside because people hang out and do other types of stuff offline and off stream. if two creators don't collab together, it doesn't mean they're enemies or don't like each other. They might hang out off stream, or maybe they just don't talk to each other. Not everyone needs to be friends, even though they're all in this one group, because in the end, it is Vshojo that is hiring these talents, and not them forming a group on their own. So stuff like this can happen, and it's fairly reasonable, and not something that is related to other things or that type of stuff. And I saw a lot of people surprised that they got to keep all their stuff afterwards. But I mean, imagine working for several years making content, and then you join a company to do this big thing, and then you want to stop being with the company, and then you lose all your progress of work. These were talents that were founded before the company and have been making content for years and years, with some people in case. So it is very expected that it's just like those content houses and that they're just kind of leaving with their stuff. This isn't really what you call a graduation or something like that the other companies use. This is more of your normal, hey, they decided not to be with us anymore, so they're doing their own thing. And there shouldn't be anything wrong with that. But hey, who do I know? I'm just here with 5 subscribers. So if you had any thoughts on the situation, comment below, and I might read them to see what your opinions are. And with that, I guess I'll see you around in whatever next video I decide to do on this weird little channel.